Hello everyone, I am Shruti Gangar and the topic of my presentation today is Indus Valley Civilization. So the Indus Valley Civilization was a civilization in the northwestern regions of South Asia lasting from 3300 BCE to 1300 BCE and in its mature form from 2800 BCE to 1900 BCE. It flourished on the basin of the Indus River. The Indus Valley Civilization is also known as the Harappan Civilization after its type site Harappa, the first of its sites to be excavated early in the 20th century. The terms Indus Saraswati Civilization and Sindhu Saraswati Civilization have also been employed in the literature. The discovery. James Lewis, also known as Charles Mason, embarked on a series of travels throughout India and excavated ancient sites on his own. One of these sites was Harappa, which he found in 1829 CE. When Mason returned to Britain after his adventures in India, he published his book narrative of various journeys in Baluchistan, Afghanistan and the Punjab in 1842 CE, which he attracted the attention of the British authorities in India and especially Alexander Cunningham. Sir Alexander Cunningham had a passion for ancient history. He founded the Archaeological Survey of India in 1861. Cunningham began excavations, but his interpretation was incomplete and lacked definition because Harappa remained isolated with no connection to any known past civilization which could have built it. In 1904, a new director of the Archaeological Survey of India was appointed, who was John Marshall, who later visited Harappa and concluded the site represented an ancient civilization previously unknown. Excavations at Mohenjo-daro began in 1924-25 and the similarities of the two sites were recognized and thus the Indus Valley Civilization had been discovered. The civilization is consisting of the five phases which you can see and we will go into each of these phases in detail. So the first phase is the pre-Harappan phase which lasted from 7000 to 5500 BCE. The Neolithic period is best exemplified by sites like Mehrgarh, which shows evidence of agricultural development, domestication of plants and animals, and production of tools and ceramics. Mehrgarh is one of the earliest sites with evidence of farming and herding in South Asia. The second phase is the early Harappan phase, and the early Harappan Ravi phase is named after the nearby Ravi River. It started when farmers from the mountains gradually moved from their mountain homes to the lowland river valleys. The major this is the highlighted portion represents the sites of the early Harappan phase. The mature Harappan phase uh, uh, lasted from 2800 to 1900 BCE. According to Geosun, the slow southward migration of the monsoons across Asia initially allowed the Indus Valley villages to develop. Farming led to large agricultural surpluses, which in turn supported the development of cities. By 2800 BCE, the early Harappan communities turned into large urban centers and there was construction of the great cities and widespread urbanization. The highlighted part shows the mature Harappan phase. Emergence of the civilization. On the basis of excavation in many of the Harappan sites, it has been confirmed that these towns and cities grew out of earlier villages that existed in the same locality prior to the early Harappan period. Before 2800 BCE, sites like Harappa, Dholavira, Rakhegari, etc. Existed in the form of rural Harappan settlements. Population growth and strong agricultural base developed trade and growth of specialized skilled craftsmen favored the growth of towns and cities in the entire Harappan domain. Vast geographic area. The remains of the Harappan civilization, dating from 2600 BCE to 1800 BCE, include cities and villages, craft centers, river stations, campsites, fortified places, and probable ports spread over a vast geographic area of 1.25 million square kilometers. More than 1,500 sites covering the Harappan realm has been classified into three categories on the basis of nature of settlement. The first being the village or hamlets occupying an area sometimes even less than 1 hectare and maximum up to 10 hectares. The second classification is the towns between 10 to 15 hectares, and the third is the cities extending in an area of more than 50 hectares. Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Dholavira, Gaonveriwala and Rakhigarhi are major cities of the Indus Valley Civilization. This picture shows Harappa, and this is a picture of Mohenjo-daro. Town planning and layout of settlements. The cities were developed close to the Indus River because the people needed river water to drink, wash, and to irrigate their fields. Since the river was so close, the cities were built on giant platforms and elevated grounds for protection from seasonal flood and polluted water. The remarkable thing about the arrangement of the houses in the cities is that they followed the grid pattern, intersecting at right angles. Although they were not strictly laid on chessboard or grid patterns with invariably straight roads, they do show many signs of careful planning. In almost all cities, every big or small house had its own courtyard and bathroom. Almost every town in the Indus Valley Civilization had a lower town and upper town, which is also known as a citadel. This is a picture of a granary of Harappa, and it is a brick structure that was built on a massive brick foundation. Following are the site plans of some important towns and cities of the Indus Valley Civilization. So this is the town plan of Banawali. This is the site plan of Dholavira, the site plan of Harappa, the site plan of Kalibangan, the site plan of Lothal, the site plan of Mohenjo-daro, the site plan of Surkotla. This is a diagram of a city in the Indus Valley Civilization. As you can notice, the city is divided into two regions. The first region is the residential area, which contains wells, houses, and drainage systems. The second region is the social organization, where granaries, citadels, and great baths and other public buildings are present. And all of these meet at a street. Fortification. One of the important aspects of Harappan town planning is the provision of forts. It was done as a measure to safeguard the settlements. In areas where the availability of stones are easy, like in Dholavira and Surkotla, both inner and outer surfaces of the forts were provided with stone facing to sustain the strength of the portions. Gates. Mound E at Harappa gives the evidence in one of the gates to be only 2.8 meter wide, just large enough to allow movement of one bullock cart to get in and out of the city at a time. Dholavira accounts for most of the gateways, unparalleled to be seen elsewhere. Overall, 14 gates have been laid bare in different fortified habitational areas. This is a picture of the western chamber of the northern gate at Dholavira. Streets. During the Harappan period too, streets played a vital role in urban planning. The overall layout of the Harappan settlements is distinguished by the orientation of streets according to cardinal directions. The prime streets at best were laid out running north-south and east-west, cutting at right angles. forming a grid pattern in such a manner that it divided the settlements into square or rectangular blocks. This picture shows an excavated street in the northern part of the citadel at Kalibangan. Drainage network. One of the most excellent features of the Harappan town planning is the well laid out streets and side lanes geared up with drainage networks. As a matter of fact, discharge of polluted water and sewage was an important part of the concerns of the Harappans, which is reflected not only in cities but also in smaller towns and villages having impressive drainage systems. Bathing platforms and latrines of the houses were connected to the medium-sized drains in the side street, which flowed into larger sewers, along with the main streets covered with bricks or dressed stone blocks. This is a covered rainwater stone drain at Dholavira, and you can judge its height from the person standing behind it. And this is a drain in Mohenjo-daro, and again the height can be judged, and you can see how tall or how long the drain is. Houses and buildings. Many residential buildings were centered on a courtyard with rooms on all sides. The courtyard was probably the center of activities such as cooking and weaving, particularly during hot and dry weather. Every house had its own bathroom and latrine, paved with bricks, with drains connected through the wall to the street drains. Some houses have remains of staircases to reach a second story or the roof. Many houses had wells, often in a room that could be reached from the outside and perhaps used by the passers-by. Water reserves. Depending upon the geographical position and environmental setting of the site, wells, tanks, and reservoirs were built to ascertain various necessities related to water. On the top edge of the well, made of bricks and had deep grooves, except that of Dholavira, where such marks are seen on the basal stone slab of the trough, indicating the use of ropes to lift the water, probably with leather bags. This is an image of a brick well at Lothal, and this is a stone well which shows the rope marks right here at Dholavira. Mohenjo-daro's tank complex, popularly known as the Great Bath, is considered as the earliest public water tank in the ancient world. Two sets of stepways were present, one each on the northern and the southern sides, leading to the base of the tank. Drain in the southwest corner of the floor of the tank was used to discharge the used water, and you can see the image of the Great Bath here. This is an image of a private well of Mohenjo-daro. Dholavira, of all the Harappan sites, was endowed with most proficient system of water harvesting and storage in the form of reservoirs. The Harappans were extremely conscientious towards storing the maximum, or rather the entire volume of water that used to flow in the flanking streams after the downpours. Lothal provides an interesting feature of a baked brick-lined basin, practically rectangular in shape. Two inlets were also noticed, supporting entry of water in the tank, one each on the northern and the southern wall. Besides this, a spillway for the exit of surplus water was provided in the southern wall. Excavator has identified this water body as a dockyard. It represents one of the largest artificial water retaining basins, reflecting superior hydraulic technology developed by the Harappans. Again, this is a picture of a dockyard at Lothal that contains a spillway. Professions of the people. The Harappan society was composed of people with diverse professions. This included priests, warriors, farmers, traders, artisans like masons, weavers, goldsmiths, potters, etc. The presence of a class of workmen is proved by workmen quarters near the granary at Harappa. Similarly, the workshops and houses meant for coppersmiths and bead makers have been discovered at Lothal. Arts and crafts. The people of the civilization produced tools, beads, bangles, inlay objects, ceramics, seals, toy house objects, household utensils, etc. using various raw materials. Here is the picture of the copper tools that were produced. The Harappan art is reflected in the form of pottery paintings, decoration in the beads, engraving in the seals, and sculptural art forms. Beads were made with a variety of materials, and the techniques for making beads differed according to the material used. In some instances, beads were made of two or more stones and cemented together. Huge brick structures suggest that bricklaying was an important craft. This also attests that the existence of a class of masons were there. The Harappans practiced boat making, bead making, and seal making. Terracotta manufacture was also an important craft. The goldsmiths made jewelry of silver, gold, and precious stones. Pottery. Pottery making was also an important industry in the Harappan period. These were chiefly wheel made and were sometimes treated with a red coating and had decorations in black. These are found in various sizes and shapes. This is a faience pot, which is basically faience is basically a material made of ground sand or silica mixed with color and a gum and then fired. Seals. The stamp seals of the Harappans are masterpieces of art. Although there are variations in shape, size, and implementation, the most common are with a squarish shape. However, some of the seals were rectangular, circular, and even cylindrical. These seals are thought to have been used to sign contracts, authorize land sales, and authenticate point of origin, shipment, and receipt of good in trade long distance. Amongst the variety of subjects depicted on seals, it was the so-called unicorn, which is like a one-horned mythical animal that outnumbers the rest. The other animals incorporated are the short-horned bull, bison, Brahmani bull, etc. The signs of Harappan script are on the seal assumably stands for the name of the owner, the name of an affiliated organization, or the name of the deity. This seal depicts a unicorn-like animal which has one horn. This is a seal that depicts a Brahmani bull. And as you can notice, the symbols here on the top are different for each seal, even though the animal is almost the same. On the left side of the two columns, we can see that there are seals, and on the right side of the two columns, we can see the impressions of the seals. The existence of one or two examples of amulet is reported from Mohenjo-daro and even Bagsara, where the interior of the seal had been carefully hollowed out to form a compartment which was formally closed by a sliding cover that fitted with grooves cut into the opening of the socket so that something, most probably a magic charm, could be safely kept inside. And this is the image of an amulet. These are the seals from Surkotra, Lothal, Kalibangan and Desalpur, and you can notice the different shapes and sizes of the seals. Toys and games. The Harappans also made various toys and games, among them cubical dice, mazes, movable toys, and toy animals are famous. This image shows the cubical dice that was used in the Indus Valley civilization. This is a grid board and terracotta pieces found in Lothal, which closely resembles a chess set of the modern day. This image shows various dice, marbles. These are some of the pawns that are similar to the chess pieces that we use right now. And these are circular and rectangular mazes. This picture shows the movable toys that were used in the Indus Valley civilization. And this is the image of toy animals with wheels. This is an image of a bird-like object that is mounted on wheels. This is toy in form of a cart, which shows us that carts were present for the transportation of goods in the Indus Valley civilization. These are figurines with movable heads, and as you can notice here, the heads are attached with the main body through some metal pipes or through a rope. Again, this is an image of an animal figurine, and these are egg and bird-shaped vessels. Dressing style. The limited knowledge about their dressing style comes from the terracotta figurines and stone sculptures of the period. Men are mostly shown wearing a dress wrapped around the lower half of the body with one end worn over the left shoulder and under the right arm. They used cotton and woolen clothes. Spindles and needles discovered at many sites attest to the practice of spinning and weaving. Ornaments. Many crafts, including shell working, bead making, etc., were practiced, and these pieces were used in the making of necklaces, bangles, and other ornaments from all phases of the Harappan culture. This picture shows at the top there are fillets of hammer gold that would have been worn around the forehead. The other ornaments include bangles, chokers, long pendant necklaces, rings, earrings, conical hair ornaments, and brooches. Sculptures. The sculpture found in the Indus Valley civilization speak of the high standard of craftsmanship achieved by the Harappans in this sphere of human activity. A famous sculpture from Mohenjo-daro is a sculpture popularly known as the Priest King. It probably represents a person of a very high rank, judging from the elaborate clothing and ornaments. The sculpture is 17.5 centimeter in height and 11 centimeter in width. The eyes are half closed as if the priest is in a meditative pose. The figure wears a shawl-like garment which passes underneath the right arm but goes over the left shoulder. The most beguiling piece of art of the Indus Valley civilization is probably the bronze statue of the nude dancing girl from Mohenjo-daro. Nearly 11 centimeters in height, the figure is shown standing upright. It is a masterpiece of the Harappan art because of the vivacious depiction of various features in this small figurine. Another sculpture reported from Mohenjo-daro is a seated male figure of which head is missing. This statue is little over 29 centimeters in height and is shown wearing some garment covering left arm just like that of the priest king. Writing system. The Indus script was usually written from right to left, and this is confirmed through an analysis of sign sequences carved on the seals and on the basis of writing of pottery shards that show the sequence of the strokes. Some signs appear to represent pictographs like of a man or a fish, etc., and when used alone, they might represent an idea or an entire story. This picture is of 10 Indus characters from the northern gate of Dholavira in a signboard, which is one of the longest known sequences of the Indus characters because generally the Indus characters were less in number in a particular line. Trade and transportation. Internal and external trading networks were a significant feature of the urban economy of the Harappans. The elaborate trade mechanism of the Indus Valley civilization controlled the process of procurement of raw materials, converting them into finished products, and transporting them over long distances by both sea and land routes to domestic as well as international markets. The traders also established contacts with foreign lands, particularly Mesopotamia, where these goods were in demand. The Indus Valley civilization's economy appears to have depended significantly on trade, which was facilitated by major advances in transport technology. The civilization may have been the first to use wheel transport. These advances may have also included bullock carts for road transportation. Seals containing the evidence of boats are found. Most of these boats were probably small, flat-bottomed, and perhaps driven by sail. There was an extensive maritime trade network operating between the Harappan and the Mesopotamian civilizations as early as the Middle Harappan phase. Authority and governance. There are indicators of complex decisions being taken and implemented. For instance, the majority of the cities were constructed in a highly uniform and well planned grid pattern, suggesting they were planned by a central authority. Extraordinary uniformity of Harappan artifacts is evident in pottery, seals, weights, and bricks as well. Weights and measurements. The people of the Indus civilization achieved great accuracy in measuring length, mass, and time, which helped them in organizing and standardizing the construction in cities. They were among the first to develop a system of uniform weights and measures. Here you can see the weights that were found in the Indus Valley civilization. And these are the cubical weights that are standardized throughout the Indus cultural zone. Agriculture. The people of these settlements subsisted on agriculture and cattle rearing. However, they also practiced hunting and fishing. The main crops of the period include rice, barley, lentils, wheat, jawar, coarse gram, pea, green gram, etc. It is to be noticed that the major parts of these cultures flourished in the zone of the black soil, which is useful mainly for growing cotton. Most Harappan sites are located in semi-arid lands where irrigation was probably required for agriculture. Although the Harappans practiced agriculture, animals were also reared on a large scale. Representations on seals and terracotta sculptures indicate that the bull was known, and archaeologists extrapolate shows oxen were also used for plowing. Here you can see the terracotta bull, which confirms its existence and its role in the agriculture. Dairy. By analyzing residues on ancient pots, researchers show the earliest direct evidence of dairy product processing, thus throwing fresh light on the rural economy. Pots are porous, so as soon as we put any liquid form of food, it will absorb it. The pot preserves the molecule of food such as fats and proteins, which was used to indicate the presence of dairy processing. Archaeologists studied the tooth enamel from fossils of cattle, buffalo, goat, sheep, etc., which were found in the area. Cows and water buffalo were found to consume millet, while sheep and goats ate nearby grass and leaves. A preliminary study suggested that most of the cattle and water buffalo died at an older age, suggesting they could have been raised for milk, whereas the majority of goat or sheep died when they were young, indicating that they could have been used for meat. This image shows some pots, ancient pots, and we can see that the residues on the pots were used by the archaeologists to show the evidence of dairy processing. Food. The major diet of the people were dairy products, meat, plants, or mixtures of these products. Seven laddus were found in intact form along with two figurines of bulls and a handheld copper adze, which is a tool similar to an axe, during excavations in 2017 from western Rajasthan. Dated to about 2600 BCE, they were likely composed of legumes and cereals. Processing of food required grinding equipment as well as vessels for mixing, blending, and cooking. These were made of stone, metal, and terracotta. Saddle cones are found in considerable numbers, and they seem to have been the only means in use for grinding cereals. As a rule, they were roughly made of hard, gritty, igneous rock or sandstone and mostly show signs of hard usage. Religion and belief system. George Marshall in 1931 identified a great male god and a mother goddess, deification of veneration of animals and plants, and use of baths and water in religious practice as prominent features of the Indus religion. One Indus Valley seal shows a seated figure with a horn headdress surrounded by animals. Marshall identified the figure as an early form of Hindu god Shiv or Rudra, who is associated with asceticism and yoga and regarded as a lord of animals. The seal has hence come to be known as Pashupati seal after Pashupati, who is the lord of all animals, an epithet of Shiv. Despite the criticisms of Marshall's association of the seals with a proto-Shiv icon, the figure on the seal has been interpreted as the Tirthankar Rishabhnath by Vilas Sangave and by Jains. Historians such as Heinrich Zimmer and Thomas McEvilley believe that there is a connection between the first Jain Tirthankar Rishabhnath and the Indus Valley civilization. Some Indus Valley seals show swastik, which are found in religions worldwide, especially in Indian religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. Indus Valley lacks any monumental places, even though excavated cities indicate that the society possessed the requisite engineering knowledge. This may suggest that religious ceremonies, if any, may have been largely confined to individual homes, small temples, or the open air. Astronomy. The people in the Indus Valley civilization uh, also had an appreciation for astronomy, which is reflected in the orientation of the city and the streets along the cardinal direction east to west, north to south, relating to the rising and setting of the sun. Maula has suggested that the so-called calendar stones found in Mohenjo-daro could have been used for astronomy. So this is an image of a calendar stone from Mohenjo-daro, and this is the possible use of calendar stone for the astronomical observations. Another interesting piece of possible astronomical evidence is the circular stone structures at Dholavira that appear to have served as astronomical observatories. These are clearly deliberately made and they appear to point directly to the north. Stone circles were common in prehistoric India, where the rising and setting directions of the important stars in specific cardinal directions were indicated by marker stones. So this is a stone circle at Dholavira with a possible astronomical association. And these are the important directions that were marked out in the Indian stone circle. Stars. In trying to identify the stars, the uh, most likely would have been considered important by the Harappans. We can assume that by having a predominantly agricultural and trade economy, the monsoons would have played a crucial role, and stars indicating the arrival of monsoon would have been particularly important. So this is an image of the northern sky at the beginning of monsoon at Harappa in 2500 BC, and this is the image of the southern sky during the same time at Harappa. It is also interesting to note that there is a famous seal which depicts a series of images that look similar to some of the constellations. However, it is difficult to prove that this association is a deliberate attempt to depict the sky. As can be seen from the left-hand image, without cluttering of the modern divisions of the sky, most of the stars or asterisms marked by oval can tentatively be associated with images on the seals. Burials. At burials in Harappan sites, the dead were generally laid in pits. Sometimes there were differences in the way burial pit was made. In some instances, the hollowed out spaces were linked with the bricks. Some graves contained pottery and ornaments, perhaps indicating a belief that these could be used in the afterlife. Jewelry has been found in burials of both men and women. In some instances, the dead were buried with copper mirrors. So this is an image of a Harappan burial, and this is a copper mirror which was found buried with the people. Sophistication, simplicity, and utilitarianism. Later in the stage, Harappan civilization achieved a high degree of sophistication, yet was imbued with simplicity and utilitarianism. All this reflect on a system which induced surplus food production and controlled its efficient distribution to promote and sustain specialized activities by different classes of artisans and craftsmen, as well as by a well organized trading community. The late Harappan phase began from 1900 BCE and ended at 1500 BCE. Around 1900 BCE, the signs of a gradual decline began to emerge, and around 1700 BCE, most of the cities had been abandoned. According to the historian Upinder Singh, the general picture presented by the late Harappan phase is one of a breakdown of urban networks and an expansion of rural ones. The period of approximately 1900 to 1700 BCE saw a shift of rural settlement towards the east and the south. During the latter half of the second millennium BCE, most of the post-urban late Harappan settlements were abandoned altogether. So the highlighted portion shows the cities and towns during the late Harappan phase. Reasons for the collapse of the Indus Valley civilization. So the actual reasons for the decline of the Indus Valley civilization have been unknown. However, the following speculations are considered as the reasons of the decline of civilization. So the first is the Aryan invasion. So in 1953, Sir Mortimer Wheeler proposed that the invasion of Aryans caused the decline of the Indus civilization. In the later cultures, various elements of the civilization are found, which suggest that it did not disappear suddenly due to an invasion. On the other hand, many scholars believe natural factors are behind the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. The climate change which caused the collapse of the civilization was possibly due to an abrupt and critical mega drought and cooling for 4,200 years ago. It is believed that the Indus Valley region experienced several tectonic disturbances which caused earthquakes, which also changed the course of rivers or dried them up. Such succession of earthquakes along with drought may have contributed to the decline of the Indus Valley civilization. The post-Harappan phase was from 1500 to 600 BCE, and the cities were abandoned and the people moved south. The inhabitants of the civilization migrated from the river valleys of Indus and Ghaggar Hakra towards the Himalayan foothills of Ganga Yamuna basin. In the aftermath of the civilization's locations, the regional cultures emerged and showed the influence of the civilization to various degrees. So these are the sources from where I did my research, and I hope you gain some knowledge from this presentation. Thank you.